Good evening, folks. Michael back to you, and I'm absolutely delighted to be chatting to Shannon. Shannon, you may remember, 3 years ago came to me with, she had some health issues, and thankfully we're 3 years down the road. It's hard to believe that Shannon is 3 years down the road since she came to us, suffering from depression, anxiety. She'll briefly explain for a moment what she was suffering from. And but thankfully, as I said, 3 years down the road, we're still here chatting that Shannon has fully recovered, and she'll tell you what she's about to do as well. So Shannon, you might just remind people who might be watching this about your journey, you know, when you came to us first.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago in January. I came to Michael and Tina in the practice. I was very low. I was depressed, let's say. Since the previous October, I was working in Dublin at the time in a sourdough bakery, and got caught up with different shift work, and it took a toll on me. And throughout those few months from October to January, I just kept getting worse. Was sleeping endless amounts and no interest in doing anything, and yeah, I just tried everything: counselling, change my diet, give up alcohol, social media, caffeine. Tried my best with everything, and this was kind of the last resort, was Michael.
And of course you had spent a lot of money because you were taking, she obviously had been to the doctor and had been prescribed antidepressants, and you were taking antidepressants. You spent around €3,000 on counselling, you know, had been on the right diet and everything. And you came to me on the 13th, Shannon came to me on January the 13th on 2020. So that's 3 years ago. It's hard to believe it.
Yeah.
And really, you haven't looked back since, have you?
No, not at all. It's been a journey, of course, but it's an endless journey, and I'm so happy to just like continuously stay working on myself, obviously through bioenergy. But no, I'm so happy I've done it, and obviously you wouldn't wish it on anyone to go through something like that, but it definitely makes you a stronger person. Yeah,
and of course the real key for us is that, you know, we always follow up with some clients to see that they're doing well, and if they're putting into place everything that we want them to put into place, because as Shannon will tell you, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, if you put in the time and the effort. I was explaining, I'm not sure if the author, I think it's the author is unknown, who said one time that, you know, pain is part of life, suffering is optional. And this is the kind of message we try to get across to people out there. We're always going to have problems, challenges in our lives, but ultimately, you know, it's optional if we want to stay in that space. And you know, you had a little bit of emotional stuff in your past as well, Shannon, but that was the great thing about working with the energy, and you could feel us working with the energy. I mean, that's the important thing, that's the difference. She had the counselling, she had the drugs, she had the diet, she did everything, but it wasn't working. Suddenly we work with the energy and things change. And that's the power of working with the energy, that we can move stuff and release stuff from the past. But you found you could feel that as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think it was day 3 when I was like, came back into the clinic. Could just feel the Shannon returning. And I think it was my mum came with me for the 4-day treatment, and she couldn't believe her eyes, even though she didn't know what was going on through the work. But yeah, it was the second day I fainted, and I think it was just a massive release in the gut, he said, but like that, it was after 4 days, I was like, I could feel myself like coming back to, not the old me, but like the new and better one.
There was light at the end of the tunnel. And that's often what it does, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it triggers, you know, that spark that's in every one of us. And I see so many people now coming to me suffering from anxiety and depression and fatigue and burnout and all these types of problems, like Shannon was 3 years ago. But the great thing, Shannon's story is already on my YouTube channel, and it has inspired many people to come to my clinic. And you even met another client today at my clinic who had said to you that you had inspired them, and that's fantastic to be able to do that, you know, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm inspired then by other people, and I think the more you share, the more you help people, and to this day, I'm still listening to podcasts or stories that are super helpful for me on my journey as well.
Yeah.
Which is it's good. It's great.
So, you know, and and hopefully this will inspire people to believe in themselves as well. You know, this is the kind of message we're giving out here today, is that if you are stressed, if you are anxious, and you could be on medication, and that might be fine and necessary and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately that if you stick with it, because persistence is one of the most important things, that if you persist with the journey, there is no quick fix or magic wand, that you know, Shannon, you come regular to have a little top up, don't you?
It's important, yeah. I feel like I need it every few months just to kind of keep me going and check back in with Michael and Tina.
Yeah, and it's important, because some people think, it's like for me in my life, I've got to do the exact same thing, work with energy, have my own energy work done on myself and things, you know, but out there today, so many people are struggling, you know, with the negativity. I was talking about it yesterday on a stream I was doing with people, and you know, there's so much negativity out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's this narrative within media, you know, this doom and gloom, this prediction of negativity, whether it be economic or whatever the case may be. But people are really, really struggling. And you know, what we're talking about here is that disconnect from all that and kind of come back to yourself and ground yourself and work with yourself. It can make such a huge difference. I mean, when you consider that on Christmas of 19, Shannon was lying in bed after having loads of counselling, taking medication, no motivation to get out of it, you know, tried everything else. This was the last resort for her, and yet it worked, didn't it?
Yeah. No, it worked obviously within the 4 days, but it worked. It took serious work to...
Yourself?
Yeah,
as well. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know, it's incredible. It saved me.
Yeah, and the thing about it is what Shannon is saying is very important. When you get on the journey, you'll start attracting things into your life. Like you're saying, podcasts. You might start listening to positive podcasts. Not necessarily ones that we will do, but other podcasts, because there's so much positivity and other ways out there that when you go on the journey of recovery and go on the journey of life and disconnect from all the negativity and focus in on the positive side of things, that so many things can change, can't they?
Yeah. And I think I feel like I'm a very open person, so I will discuss how I'm feeling, or obviously my past as well. And I think that's definitely helped me on my journey, that like by opening up, I get other people around me might open up and we'll share tips and tricks along the way. So definitely do think it's very important to be open. You know, it's obviously hard for some people, but it saved me, I think, throughout my journey then, previous to coming to Michael. On my really bad days, I would open up. And I suppose with great family and friend support, they really listened.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a huge help to me, and still is, being open.
Yeah.
So.
The thing is that, unfortunately, nowadays, Shannon and I have often discussed this, that some children out there, you know, they're hooked on social media, and they don't have somebody maybe to turn to. Maybe their families are working. You know, maybe there's lots of different issues going on. But I've never seen, we were just talking about it, I've never seen so many young people suffering from anxiety and depression, and because they're in some way hooked by social media. And we're kind of sleepwalking into huge problems in the future. And I truly believe that working with the energy is the way forward. And I speak to parents every day that when we can work with the energy, we can help to reset the system. And part of the work that we did with Shannon as well was teaching her how to breathe properly, how to think differently, open her up to understanding who she was as a human being. And that was absolutely critical, because, you know, this is what people need. They need to come back to themselves, to open up, to understand how they really function. And the energy really does that, doesn't it? Isn't that really what it did for you? It opened you up and it released the blockages of energy that you had, because you felt that release.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really did. And then there's, I think I still live off those 3 points, is like, you're always a constant creator of your future.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with positive people and a positive environment, and never look back at the past. And I really focused on those, which, like, I might have slightly cut out people that might have been a negative influence around me, but it's had a major effect on me today. So
brilliant.
Those were, like, you really focused on those, and I think along with the energy work and the diet, they were really, really important.
Well, it's fantastic that 3 years down the road we can look back now and say it's been a great journey.
Yeah.
She's come out the other side. She's worked hard at it. We initiated the process, and that's, what advice would you give to people, Shannon, out there who might be struggling, who think that, well, they have to take medication for the rest of their lives, or they're fatigued or burnt out or they're anxious?
Just open up, get the help that you can, stay at it. It's not like it doesn't happen overnight, but when you come to the far side of it like I did, life is just incredible. Every day is it's really precious, and yes, I have my bad days, my bad weeks, but through that then it makes me a stronger person, and I don't know, like just focus on the simple things, and it'll be all worth it.
Yeah, and that's it. You see, people think that you can be totally happy all your life, and no matter how, you can have all the money in the world, and that you're going to find happiness in that. Not at all. Life is a journey.
Yeah.
And every one of us are going to have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
If you want to call it. But as I said, pain is part of life, but suffering is optional. So you can decide right now. You could, like Shannon could have easily stayed in bed, stayed taking her medication, 3 years down the road, still the same way, not being able to work, but she didn't. She chose. The option she chose was to go and to do something about it, to persevere with it, to change. She came to us, and that's what happened, and she did that. And that's the greatest inspiration for us to keep doing our work, to know that we can see results when people put in the time and effort. And Shannon is going on a little bit of a journey as well now, so we won't be seeing her. She's heading off to
Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, fantastic.
Now.
Absolutely.
For a few months.
So it's good. It's good. And it's great for young people out there, because, you're only 23 or 4 years of age, and Shannon, is reflective of many young children out there today, young people who are struggling with lots of problems. And we're saying there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not what we're saying. There is light at the end of the tunnel, that we can have happy lives, that we can be fulfilled in life, and there will be challenges, but that we can overcome them. So I'm absolutely delighted that Shannon decided to have a chat this evening. It's 3 years down the road. It shows that when we do the work, that it just doesn't go away after a short time. That it has an effect, and it'll continue to affect our life. And I will have energy work always. Shannon, I'm sure, will be back, or she'll be getting me on a flight out to Australia. But we'll be continuously working with Shannon. So I hope, folks, that what we just briefly chatted to you about will indeed help many of you out there to believe that you can overcome the challenges that are there in your life. As I said, 3 years ago when Shannon came, coming out of bed on antidepressants, haven't tried everything, she came to us, we did the work, she did the work. As a result of that, she's 3 years later saying, listen, it solved the problem, and that's an absolutely fantastic thing to be able to do. So I hope you enjoyed our chat. We'll be chatting more over the coming time. We'll be staying in touch with Shannon as well, how she's getting on in Australia. And thanks for tuning in, and please like this, share it with your friends. There's lots of people out there who might be suffering, and if you get a chance, just share it, and it might just one person might pick this up and say, you know what, I can change my life. What do you think?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Help each other out.
Help each other out. Thanks a million, Shannon.
Thank you so
really
much.
Appreciate